Yeah. So the issue is in our Western society, when we die, we have to do something with the remains, right? And most people, it's just a funeral. The point is, some of us have never gone through it, but I've gone through it with my parents and stuff. When you go through this final expense, you get a bit of a wake up call of how much it costs, right? I mean, funerals, last taxes to be paid and stuff can add up.
Absolutely.
My mother, for example, she passed away in 2004. She had a $17,000 life insurance policy with Prudential,
Okay.
and we used all of it. And it kind of blew my mind a bit of how much things cost.
Right.
With it, like she was buried at Beechwood Cemetery.
Okay.
I went there because my aunt was there. I didn't really know anywhere else to go. I got a double plot because my dad was still alive. That cost over $3,000, plus $980 just to dig the hole. Like
Wow.
I spent $3,000 for the plot, and I still had to pay to dig the hole.
Can you dig it yourself?
No.
No. Okay.
No. Right. So then I wanted to get one up from a pine box. I wanted to get a decent coffin because she wanted to be buried. It was $2,500.
Just for a pine.
Simple little box.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
The thing that blew me away was I wanted to get some flowers, and my dad was kind of out of it, so I had to organize things. So I phoned a local florist in Canada. I wanted to get three things. I wanted to get a bunch of flowers from us, from my wife and I. Her brother in Ireland was still alive, so he wanted some flowers. So I wanted to get flowers, and my dad wanted a casket spray for the casket.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I phoned the florist, and the florist says, "Yeah, that's fine. How do you want to pay for this?" I said, "Well, just stick it on my credit card." At this stage, I didn't really care. I wanted to get things done, and he said that will be $980.
What?
For 3 bunches of flowers.
Wow.
We got her a headstone. It's Pennsylvania granite. It's maybe 3 feet tall. That was $7,000. So these things add up, and people don't realize the cost of these things.
That I would not realize the cost of a tombstone as that. I mean, I have granite countertops, and they were less than that for a whole kitchen. That's
and
crazy.
What do you do?
What do you do? You
Right?
can't
And that
argue.
was a very simple funeral. They didn't have very many friends left, so I think there was 12 people at the funeral.
Okay.
So we had it actually at Beechwood. There's a chapel there. We had it
It's
at Beechwood.
beautiful, yeah.
But if you have to go to a full church funeral with hearses and cars and like afterwards we went to a Chinese buffet for lunch, right? Because there wasn't very many people. But if you have to cater for a wake and stuff, that can get really expensive, and people don't realize that. Now my dad passed away in 2016, and he was cremated.
Mm-hmm.
So that was relatively cheap in a sense. It was $4,000.
Okay.
Right, so not bad.
And it comes with their thing, yeah.
So I wanted to put his ashes into where my mum was buried. Now, it cost $980 to dig, what, a 12-foot hole? Because it was a double plot. So I said, well, if I want to dig I want you guys, not me, if I want you guys to dig maybe 2 feet for this urn, $700. Big expense at the end, and how do you pay for it?
Yeah.
So a lot of people buy life insurance for that.
Okay.
They buy it when they're younger, but a lot of people don't. They wait until they're older, and they wait until it's on the horizon, so to speak, that I need to buy some burial insurance, if you want to call it that. Final expense insurance. It's all different names. It's just life insurance.
Right.
And you can get this from various companies. If you're healthy, you can go to the regular companies and buy that. If you're not so healthy, there's still options available. There's what's called guaranteed issue policies available where there's still medical questions, but there's no doctor's visits, there's no nurse's visits. They tend to be a little bit more liberal in who they accept.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, there is some insurance out there for people who are not healthy. You can buy the insurance. It's a bit more expensive, but it's still there. And if you don't do that, then where does the money come from? I've talked about some expenses there with cremation and stuff like that. The average cremation is about $6,000. The average burial is between 10 and 20.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from? And that can, if you don't buy insurance, it invariably comes out of your estate.
Right, and it takes a lot of time. I mean, we deal with estates here regularly, right? And it takes a lot of time to actually be able to take that money out of the estate account.
Exactly.
Oftentimes, unless you've named beneficiaries and have it well organized, right? Now, I think a hesitation people have with buying final expense insurance is, does it make sense? If I add up all these premiums that I'm paying, does it make sense with the payout?
Good point. I mean, the insurance companies have to make money.
Sure.
Let's be honest, they're not there as a charity. They have to make money. And they price their products to the degree that they base their rates on actuarial basis of how many people die per year, that kind of thing. But yes, it's pennies on the dollar, really, for that. Now, I'll give you an example. I had a client recently who wants to buy some final expense insurance, if you want to call that. It was a small $15,000 policy.
Better than nothing.
Right?
Absolutely.
And the quote was, I think, $43 a month.
Okay.
Right? Now, her reaction to me is a typical reaction of people. Well, if I was just to stick that $43 into an investment, I would make more money.
Right.
Right? And she's correct, yes. But you have to factor this in. If you take that $43 times 12, divide that into 15,000, that's about 30 years of payments before the insurance company starts to lose money and before you break even. So I say to her, that's fine, but you would have to put that money into an investment for at least 30 years, or maybe a little bit less if you're making some interest.
Depending,
but let's say 28 years then,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And are you going to live 28 years?
Yeah. Okay.
And you better get there for it to be worth it.
Right.
What happens if you die next year? What happens if you die 5 years from now? Isn't the insurance a better option for you?
Yeah,
and that's the way you got to think about it.
Yeah.
Right? It's pennies on the dollar. You're giving the insurance company $43 a month, and they're going to pay out $15,000. That's a pretty good rate of return.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the money has to come from somewhere. And if you have to liquidate investments to pay this, that's even more money, because investments are so let's say you need $15,000 out of your RSP. Well, that's not $15,000. That's maybe $20,000, because you got to pay the tax on that to get the 15 out. So it's all based on where the money's going to come from.
Okay. All right, and it seems like having some sort of life insurance is actually really important to your estate, because nobody has to take that money out of their pocket. Right, because not everybody has $20,000 just kind of hanging around, right? So that's offering that protection. And when we talk about the premiums, it seems like the way to win is to buy it at the right time.
That's right.
Right?
The earlier you buy it, the more you win.
Excellent.
Because the cheaper it is. These policies we're talking about are permanent insurance policies where the coverage and the premium is guaranteed for life.
Okay,
so you don't have to worry about any increase in premium. You don't have to worry about any time where the coverage runs out. And the younger you buy it, the cheaper it is.
Great. All right. Well, thanks for all your knowledge. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.